I think it's about time to have an international, the moment of the global reckoning of the fact that China is a bully in the international scene.
What inspired me to cause this action to raise money and awareness for the people of Hong Kong was really kicked off by the NBA.
China scrapping the broadcast of NBA games over the Houston Rockets GM tweet.
The NBA makes billions of dollars in the Chinese market, and it's apparently siding with Beijing.
Ejecting fans in America from sporting events because they're chanting Free Hong Kong.
President Xi Jinping's last Hong Kong visit was 2 years ago to mark 20 years since the handover of what was a British colony to China. He minced no words then about who was in control.
We're going to show up to the NBA opening game on the 24th with the Golden State Warriors. We have approximately 70 volunteers right now. We're trying to get over 100 to hand out a couple thousand t-shirts because we want to use the NBA to speak for the people of Hong Kong, the people that they're trying to ignore. If you have 1,000 people in an arena wearing a shirt that says Free Hong Kong, you're gonna broadcast the message Free Hong Kong internationally. They may want to sweep this under the rug, but we're not gonna allow them. We have to stand up for what's right. And what's right is supporting Hong Kong.
Well, Lee and I have known each other for a long time. We met on the internet, actually, over Facebook. We share many of the same values around freedom, freedom of speech, Bill of Rights, etc. It was kind of a no-brainer. Like, he brought it up to me and said, this is something I want to do. And so I said, how can I support you? And that's my role in this. It's not about me or Lee, it's about Hong Kong at the end of the day, and it's about getting people to care about an issue that is incredibly important, not only to the people of Hong Kong, but people of the world and people in the United States. The Chinese government has been basically boiling the frog, so to speak.
In the past 5 months, what we have seen, 2 million people march on the street, and the message was really clear. Leave us alone, enough is enough. And Hong Kong people should have the power to say no.
A lot of the protests were sparked and kicked off by mainland China trying to have a bill passed in Hong Kong for extradition of crimes. So people could be arrested in Hong Kong, taken to mainland China for court, and then prosecuted there without the same safeties and court system that are present in Hong Kong. People obviously saw this as a way of China taking away civil rights and civil liberties. And they went to the streets to voice their opinion and demand that their government not let this go through.
There's fury at the police amid repeated claims which refuse to go away about police brutality when dealing with these pro-democracy demonstrators. It is chaotic on Hong Kong streets, and this is now turning into a nightly ritual. Outside one police station, a floral mountain is building, a tribute to protesters they believe have died after being arrested, claims the police have categorically denied. But trust in the police is at an all-time low now.
So we have people that are wanting just democracy because they see that they're not represented. So they have an appointed leader in Hong Kong, a chief executive, that the general public don't get to vote for.
Back in the 80s, when Beijing told the world there was no choice but to resume control over Hong Kong. Hong Kong must be given back to China. Beijing also promised Hong Kong people and the world that other than national defense, everything would be decided by the Hong Kong people for the Hong Kong people. But ever since '97, we realized that that was a lie.
This helps explain why the tweet by the NBA's coach was so significant in China, because the Chinese people, not just the government, of course the government started, and the people would think, how dare you damage the image of China? You support Hong Kong means you undermine China. We are so perfect and so great, we don't allow anybody say anything bad about us. So that's the mentality. I believe is more from the government than for the everyday people. Everyday people, they might get upset. I don't think they want to boycott those games because they love NBA. They love NBA.
I don't think it's just a game. It never has been just a game. If you look back to the 50s and 60s, athletes took a stand, and they took a stand for civil rights. You know, I think that's important. It's an incredibly important issue. So fighting for Hong Kong's civil rights, I think, is also an important issue.
I think NBA should take a stand. They can use their popularity in China to express the virtue of freedom. Chinese government right now don't really have a clear agenda what to do. Only thing they're trying to do is to keep what's happening in Hong Kong, not spread anywhere else. They're trying really hard just to do that. The current Chinese government know how much they're disliked.
Back in 2003 and 2004, we've seen a lot of changes in the way Hong Kong people look at politics. Before that, Hong Kong people believes in the representative democracy. Whenever they have any issues or questions with the government, they go to the legislators and they believe the legislator will fix the problem for them. But beginning from 2003 and 2004, we saw people going to the street trying to advocate for themselves. It is a very interesting change, and we back then believed that it was about time to do something about the free market.
I don't know how you cannot just be completely moved when you watch videos of people basically flying our flag, singing our national anthem, talking about our freedoms, our First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment. They're saying we need all of these things here. We don't have them, we need them. I actually think that they hold American values more than some of our Americans do.
I think Beijing looks at the world as a huge factory, a machine that they can tune here and there to be more efficient, to produce more things. But after this few months in Hong Kong, we've seen people coming up with ideas, deliberating the ideas on Telegram, on Facebook, people contributing to different causes, different campaigns, to people who they never met before and probably will never met again. I think Hong Kong has already a very elaborate civil society there, whereas to Beijing, that is not exactly what they want or they believe in. They don't believe that you can have an organic organization of society bottom up by the people, and I think that's the most essential difference between Hong Kong and Beijing.
China's using our own technology against us and the people of China to blackball them, to suppress them, to silence them, to show them what they can or can't read or watch. They don't have the free opportunity to even educate themselves on issues. I'm pretty sure if you go to speak to an average person in mainland China, they don't know what Tiananmen Square is.
The soldiers showed no mercy in opening fire indiscriminately into the crowds. No one knows exactly how many died. The official Chinese version claims only 300 people were killed in Tiananmen Square, all of them soldiers. Unofficial accounts say the death toll exceeded 7,000. Whatever the truth, no one had believed the People's Army would actually open fire on the people themselves.
That stuff's washed from the internet. They have the Great Firewall of China. They're not seeing it.
China is not a rule of law country. So there's constitution is there, but there's no legislation. So constitution is just for show.
I think it's about time to have an international, the moment of the global reckoning of the fact that China is a bully in the international scene. It is the moment for us to see the true colors of the communist China. They are natural-born bully.
I was walking on the street and I saw this sign that police surveillance camera here by New York police. I thought, wow, they let you know you've been watched in China. You couldn't believe how many cameras were there.
In early July, I remember in one of the rallies in Kowloon side, protesters took down the so-called smart lampposts posted by the government. And they realized that inside these lampposts, there was surveillance camera and devices for tracking people. Protesters believed that there was some kind of facial recognition going on in Hong Kong, and from then onwards, whenever they see a surveillance camera, the first thing they do is to spray paint on it or even just destroy them. That was the reason why they wear masks now, and the government, in light of that, passed an emergency legislation forbidding people wearing masks in public events.
We were teaching in the university in the classroom, and I counted in the whole classroom more than a dozen cameras. And I didn't understand why there's one corner, 3 cameras. So someone told me, look at one of it, looks like a water drop, round. That one can zoom into your phone, your computer screen. When you're typing on your phone, when you're looking at your computer screen, that camera can zoom in to see everything and can hear you.
What we have in the US is a system of due process. We have a legal system to where if you're accused, then you can go in front of a judge and be adjudicated or freed, right? China doesn't have that. So without due process, they're going to blackball and alienate people in society, even potentially sending messages to people that they're sitting next to in a restaurant: don't do business with this person, they're untrustworthy. Don't serve this person, they're untrustworthy, they're bad, they're evil, they're against the government, they're against the country. That is not due process, and we can't support it because that technology is going to be used against us.
When I was little, during the Cultural Revolution, they highly encouraged people turn each other in, spy on each other, especially in the families. Husband and wife spy on each other, children and parents spy on each other, siblings spy on each other. It was highly encouraged. Today it's the same.
Hong Kong was not given what we promised. We were promised autonomy. We were not given that. Hong Kong people should have the power to say no to Beijing. The power to say no doesn't mean that we will say no to everything, but at least we should have that power to say no to any government. The Hong Kong government, to Beijing government, is basically the same thing. But we must be able to say no. Otherwise, Hong Kong will no longer be Hong Kong anymore.